Can you hear me? Okay, I'm originally from New York. I could speak loud enough without a microphone if we really needed, also as a classically trained opera singer. So who's coming to karaoke? Awesome. I hope they have operatic Dutch metal. I'll be doing that. Hi, I'm Debbie Levitt. This is Stop Evangelizing UX and What to Do Instead. And my background, let's try to get my remote happy. Oh, it's not happy. There we go. So my background is as a working in CX and UX, research and design. I'm not an artist. I'm really that more strategic person trying to find and solve problems. I don't understand French, so I don't know how much she already said. Thank you, Morgan. So Delta CX is my company. We do CX and UX projects, training and consulting. Sometimes I'm going into companies to try to help them improve what they're doing with CX and UX and the customer experience. I'll be giving away one of my books towards the end. My new book is called Customers Know You Suck. And it's true, and it's a how-to book on improving your customer centricity. Clients call me Mary Poppins because I fly in, fix everything I can, sing a few songs, and fly away again. They named me that independently, and I decided to make that my brand. And I also want to mention that I tend to say CX and UX interchangeably because I think when they're done well, they're the same. The customer experience, the user experience. I don't want to get into a fight over who's a customer, who is a user. They're all in our ecosystem. We have to make all of them happy. I'm pointing at nothing. Well, wherever my slides are, let's pretend I'm pointing at those. I'm on YouTube usually 4 times a week, completely live. So if there's anything I can do for you, join a show. It's usually 12:30 p.m. your time, but I'm going to have to change that. But anyway, drop on by, and if you try to add me on LinkedIn, please say something in English or French so I know you're not a weird person. Even if you're a weird person. So let's start by talking about where our problems are and why we're trying to evangelize in the first place. And people tell us, oh, you're going to have to come and work here and evangelize UX. And I say, no, that was your job, and it looks like you're not doing it. So we get stuck trying to prove the value of what we do or what UX does. But it's a problem where, at the core, nobody really understands what UX is. They very often think it's the people who make pretty screens. So where the problem tends to start is, so we have people saying everybody's a designer, everybody's a researcher, and that means anybody can do UX work. Product managers can wireframe, business analysts will interview customers, engineering's going to do whatever they want, and maybe we don't need specialists. And then we want to make sure UX really doesn't make too many decisions by themselves. Everyone's going to get involved in their decision making, which ultimately removes our power and our autonomy. And I'm going to say our or we for CX or UX because that's the world I work in. And then, since everybody wants to do UX and make decisions together, I guess we're just going to be running lots of workshops so we can all do this together. And in fact, if you want to run lots of workshops, then sure, you can use some nicely packaged frameworks like design thinking, design sprints, lean UX, and more, though I have a slide on that later, so I am not done talking about those. And then we also have problems with fake agile, which wants to release something now and learn months from now that it's garbage. We pretend we'll fix it later, right, everyone? We'll fix it later. It's good enough. And somehow that's good enough no, it's not good enough. Customers know you suck. We have fake lean as well. Everyone says, oh, we want to be lean, but it sounds like nobody actually studied what lean was and where it came from. It came from Toyota trying to build better factories, so it wasn't about doing the least you could, it was about reducing waste and defects so you could be more efficient and get it right the first time more often, because you want to get a car right the first time. You don't want to send out a car that's maybe good enough. So we have a misunderstanding of what lean even is. And then because of this, we have weird jobs. Hands up here, who works in UX or CX? Do we have some UXers here? Right. And how many of you feel like people really understand your job? Yeah, and how many of you feel like, hey, my job asks me to do reasonable things in a reasonable amount of time? No. In any language, no. And so that's what's been going on. So it's a problem that starts with the lack of understanding, and then it bleeds out into all of these other disasters. And also, we get caught up in it as the UX workers. We say, well, I want everybody to sit at lunch with me like we're in school again. I want people to like me, and I want them to sit with me at lunch, so I'll just say yes to everything, and I'll surrender. And then later we go, why doesn't anybody understand what I do and see the value of what I do? And sometimes we don't see how much we're doing this to ourselves, because I don't see DevOps doing this. I don't see DevOps saying, everyone can do the DevOps, and I want you to feel more included in the DevOps. So we have to be careful of what we're doing, and we have to push on our own UX and design leadership to be fighting for what we do, but not from the perspective of evangelism, because evangelism looks like this. And no other role at your company is evangelizing. Developers don't make PowerPoints telling people how important coding and development are. We don't usually have QA trying to explain the value of testing our software before it goes out, though at some companies they are fighting that. It's us, and it makes us look a little weird. And it can make us look a little whiny, even if we don't mean to be, but mostly it's not working. If it were working, I wouldn't be here and you wouldn't be in this room. I'd be somewhere else. I'd probably be at Disney World, where I was yesterday. So there are many things people don't want to be sold. I'm going to point, it's not this, it's this, at the slides. There's many things people don't want to be sold. They don't want to be sold a new religion. They don't want to be sold going vegan. And they don't want to be sold the value of UX. So, so I want to talk a little bit about my made-up word, Aspirology. I think it will work in French too, but basically it's a method that aspires to greatness, but I don't think it's really great, and I'm worried that it's hurting us in UX. Now, the main aspirologies that you will run into, and don't leave the room yet, stick with me, are design thinking, design sprints, lean UX, and democratization. And these have common characteristics that you can easily recognize, like codependency. UX somehow seems to need everybody to do our job with us and for us. Disrespect of teammates' time. We've got to get everybody to stop their mission-critical work to come and do ours with us, usually in some sort of workshop. Reliance on assumptions. Oop, I'm clicking. It's not happy today. Reliance on assumptions. Aspirologies love speed over quality. How many of you feel like you're really putting out something high quality to your users and customers? Super high quality. Hands up now. Nobody? Well, that's the saddest thing ever. We got to change our slide deck immediately to one of my other talks, but okay. We'll keep going with this one then. Be careful about the world of speed over quality. Congratulations on being fast, but are we doing anything good? Are we making our clients happy, customers, users? We must look more closely at that. And then, of course, we have the whole democratization or decentralization, where we just think, well, you know, UX looks easy because I see people making screens, and I think I can make screens too. And that is a big problem for a lot of us, because UX is it's a number of specialized jobs. We have researchers, we have content and writing, we have information architecture and interaction design, we have visual design and branding, usually falling under the UX umbrella, and possibly service design. So to try to boil it down to, hey, I think I can just make some screens. Sure, I can cut your hair, but you might not be happy I did. So if we care about quality, we have to look for quality in the work that's being done. And someone at your company who's doing UX badly because they think it's a cool thing to try out, that's where we need some oversight and accountability. fake team building. If Aspirology workshops were really how we built teams, we'd have them in every area. We would have marketing workshops and product workshops and engineering workshops, but we don't, because those teams know that the way to keep power and autonomy is not to open up the gate. You know, sometimes people say, oh, UX, you're gatekeepers. And I say, I hope so, because every other domain closed the gate. We have fake customer centricity. We pretend that we care about customers and users and their satisfaction, but we guess who they are. We guess at what they need. We work based on assumptions. We don't want to take time to research or really know for sure. And we pretend that we have hashtag empathy or sympathy, but we don't. We rush out garbage that doesn't really solve customers' problems and might create problems for them. Innovation and solution theater. How many never-before-seen inventions were created in that workshop room? Anybody who's done design sprints and design thinking, anybody feel like you came up with a never-before-seen invention? I'll wait. Okay. That's what I thought. So these clearly aren't innovation workshops because we don't seem to be innovating, but we keep pretending that we do. There's other ways to innovate, and this doesn't seem to be that guaranteed path there. Voting for the winner. As a UX designer, I do not create different sketches, hang them at my desk, and ask people to come and vote on their favorite. We have human-centered design, user-centered design, which is our process, and we include users. It's not user-centric without users. Make sure they're part of that process. And again, for people who think, UX is just screens, it actually has ISO standards. People here are familiar with ISO. It's ISO 9241, and there's pieces of customer centricity in ISO 9000 and 9001. So if you're getting ISO certified, you are actually claiming to care about the customer, so start doing it. Also, we have, yes, a lot of times these aspirologies, when I ask people, well, what was the outcome? They say, everybody enjoyed the workshop. Well, cool. That's great. I'm glad. That's great that we stopped doing our work and had some fun. But I need better than that. Did we have success criteria? Are we measuring anything? Our business cares about money. Where's the money? Lots of buzzwords, so it sounds like CX. Customer journey maps, personas, problem solving. But ultimately, these are really just theater. And yeah, and we are accidentally, probably more accidentally than on purpose, teaching our teammates and our leaders that UX or design or product is done by everybody getting in a room and having some wacky fun, playing Twister. But, you know, I don't know where you get your best ideas, but I get my best ideas in the shower. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to hold a meeting there. That would be inappropriate. But I do like to run Otter when I'm in the shower. Is anybody here an Otter fan? No, maybe not. Maybe it's not in French. Otter's one of those services where it records everything you say and gives you a transcription later. So I'm just shouting out ideas in the shower and writing articles in the shower by shouting. So I can't wait until we're running more numbers and people start saying, oh, wow, you know, we really spent a lot of time and money on that workshop. And I also want to talk about design sprints, because a lot of people are coming to me and saying, okay, we seem to be addicted to design sprints, but I think they're a waste of time and money. They're not letting me do my job. We're not even going in with good research. It's a guessing sandwich. We're starting with a guess, and we're guessing how to guess the guess and guess at a guess. So how do we get out of design sprints? So let's talk a little bit about the evolution of design sprints, because, hi, remote camera, because there are multiple versions of them that exist at the same time. There's the version 1 that a lot of people know about. Oops, sorry about my bad word wrapping there. There's the version 1 that most people know. Define the problem on day 1. Each of these is days. Ideate, decide, prototype, and test. Someone came up with version 2. They wanted something even shorter. And so problem and sketching is day 1. Deciding on day 2. Prototype and testing weren't part of design sprints version 2. Someone decided they're too important to have the team guessing at, so we're going to give these to experts. So I made them kind of a yellow-orange, which should be colorblind friendly. Then we've got version 3. Some companies were finding that they showed up to a design sprint to be an outside facilitator, and they found that the problem that the stakeholder presented was crap. It was fake. It was a guess. It couldn't be validated. That made the design sprint fall apart, and of course, the outside facilitation company probably didn't get all the money they were trying to get, so they had to come up with something else. And what they said was, we're going to take this whole problem thing away from the design sprint. We, as the facilitation company, are going to do 6 weeks of research first. We'll do our observations, our interviews. We'll make the customer journey maps, the personas, whatever documents or artifacts need to be made. Then we'll bring them into the design sprint and share them so people can understand them. Then we'll do sketch, prototype, whatever. But the interesting thing to me was when I started crossing out all the things that these companies seem to know shouldn't be done by the team, you're really left with everybody show up and sketch something you like, and then we'll pick something. And I feel like design sprints are devolving, and they're just getting kind of smaller. And who's making these changes? It's the companies that are making huge money being outside facilitators. They seem to know that these go better when you have lots of good research and you don't have the whole team guessing at all of this stuff in a workshop. So, and in fact, that design sprint, one design sprint company doing version 3 does 6 weeks of research and then 4 weeks of planning before the design sprint. Is it just me, or does that not sound so much like a sprint anymore? That sounds like a full human-centered design process, which I'm for, but let's not call it a design sprint. Let's just call it doing good customer-centric UX work. So what can we do instead of evangelism? So for starters, I'm trying to get people to shift away from language around design thinking and language more towards human-centered design if that's what you're doing, because they're not the same thing. If you Google design thinking, I think you'll get roughly 5,000 different things at this point. I would imagine each of us has a different definition of it. I've heard it's a mindset, it's a pedagogy, it's a process, it is UX, it isn't UX. I've seen job descriptions that said, you know how to do user-centered design and design thinking. That reminds me, they're not the same thing. I don't do design thinking. I don't have to. I'm using human-centered design. And someone came up to me at a conference in March and they said, nobody understands UX at my job. I'm the first UX person. I'm trying to explain that they need more. I'm going to tell them about design thinking. And I said, well, now imagine that your leaders or executives Google design thinking. What are they going to find? And she went, I said, right, no matter what your definition is, what's the definition they're going to find? It's probably not one that strongly supports UX. So be careful. Because again, if you want UX to be more respected, think about talking about human-centered design and those ISO standards. What else can you do instead of evangelism? I find that UX people are often siloed and they're not great collaborators with developers. When a developer asks me a question or tags me in a ticket, I try to drop everything immediately. I make them the most important thing because hypothetically, every minute you don't answer them, you are holding up the Agile team, if not the entire Agile release train. And so if you can be a better partner, then that will improve relations at the company. And so this was a screenshot of a QA person asking me a question and me answering 2 minutes later. Even just to keep the juggling balls in the air. Hey, I'll have to look at this a little bit later, but I see your question and I'm on it. So remember, manage these people, be the best partner to them that you can, which also means going to the meetings. And I know you might think, oh, I don't have time, I don't want to sit in all of these Agile ceremonies. What I used to do is I sit in the Agile ceremonies, as boring as some of them are, and I remind everybody, hey, I'm half here. I've got deadlines. I'm working on something right now. I'm half listening to you, but if something comes up that's UX, I'm here. And that way they don't go, oh, well, Debbie's not here. We'll just figure something out. We'll make something up. because I think there's a much larger chance of them inventing their own crappy UX if I'm not in that meeting than if I'm here virtually or in person and I'm saying, hey, I'm right here. Did you say something was up with one of the screens? And so go to the meetings even if you are half there. Better than not there. And I don't have a lot of time for this slide, but Google the heck out of the costs of poor quality. I didn't invent this. It comes from Lean Six Sigma. And it's a very long list of internal and external costs that companies have when they are releasing poor quality. And the idea is that this is your ROI. This is everything your company will make or save by doing things better earlier, or hopefully the first time. Because again, the business wants to make and save money. These are areas where better user experiences can make and save them money. And some people say to me, well, we can't get anywhere with UX. Our company doesn't believe in research. Yes, they do believe in research. They love to run crappy surveys. They want to talk to customers, even if they're often asking the wrong questions. They look at their analytics data. I'm sorry I keep kicking this thing, but hopefully it's providing like a neat soundtrack, like, you know, the beginning of Frozen or something like that. You know. Or the beginning of Moana. Do you ever notice the beginning of Frozen and Moana were almost the same? I was just at Disney World yesterday. As I was saying, voice of the focus groups, they suck. They're groupthink. Can you imagine me in a focus group? Your focus group is toast. If my strong personality is in there, forget it. I'm all over that. Voice of the customer, they love to look up tweets and survey scores and NPS and talking to customer support about what we're hearing from customers, and they love to do what they call market research, which is mostly running a crappy survey that tells us we're right. But ultimately, it's not like your company doesn't believe in research. We have to use their current belief in research to kind of sneak in, adding more qualitative research, the observational studies and the better interview studies that qualified CX and UX researchers should do. Is anybody here a CX or UX researcher doing qual stuff? I have half a hand raised. I have a wiggly hand. I have some people who don't seem sure. They're turning to their friend. Do I do that? Maybe you do that, and your company doesn't let you do that, and that's part of our problem. And this slide I also want to try to blow through quickly for time. Okay. So I get asked, how can we tell if we're working from bad research? Because I think in general we are. We wouldn't be guessing so much if we knew more. If we knew more, we wouldn't have to guess. So I have like a list here. I'll just go through it quickly. I keep wanting to point at this, but it's not a thing. So I can point at the monitor, but you can't see that either. So there's a lot of things that happen during a project that tell us we didn't have the right research or enough research. Like, we don't have a clear strategy. We have a to-do list of features, but we don't really have a clear strategy of what we're doing or why. Or sometimes we have that to-do list and people change their minds constantly. We don't have any good KPIs or metrics that look at customers and users. We just look at things from the business perspective. If we want to be more customer-centric, we're going to need to look at both. We haven't written problem statements from the customer's point of view. If we do have problem statements or pain points, they're very often from the business's point of view. I hope to make people do more of this. Okay, but that's not from the customer's point of view, and we have to include them. It's usually hard to make decisions on our team because we don't have the evidence. So we're all guessing, but then we're fighting over our own opinions. Well, the UX designer wants this, and the product manager wants this, and the engineering lead wants this. It wouldn't be about us and our opinions if we had good evidence from the right research. Then we can say, no, here's our research, and this is what we know about customers. Quick story, recent client, we did mountain of research for them, took about 3-4 weeks. And we found a number of things I don't have time to tell you about because this isn't on my slide, but they said to me, well, we spoke to a few people in a coffee shop and we found that they just weren't motivated. It was a startup. They said, we think we need to build a motivation platform. I said, did you learn why they're not motivated? I said, that's just the outer layer of the onion. If you don't know why they're not motivated, you can't really solve their problem. I said, we found the people we spoke to who weren't motivated because their life was a mess. Their life was upside down. Economy, pandemic, they just moved. They're not going to do what you want them to do. They're off the thing. They're like, can we motivate them? No, their life is a mess. Wait for their life to get better. So people think they know, and they fight over opinions. The research would tell us. And then after you release it, there's lots of ways that we know we have not been working from good evidence or the right evidence. We're using customer support a lot. People are complaining. They're writing angry tweets. They're downgrading or leaving us or angry about us. My favorite is the failed A/B test. We have A, which is our existing thing. We know it sucks. We're trying to make it a little better or a lot better. We create B. Now we're going to test them against each other. B fails. Wow, we really don't get our customers when that A/B test goes out and B fails. We were trying to make something better and we made it worse. We are not working from good or any evidence. You didn't meet your own KPIs. Now we have to figure out why. That's a good sign. These are all good signs that we didn't have enough or the right research. And then typically I see people say, no, it's not research. We just have a bad designer, or we have a bad design. And I say, hold on, you might have a bad design or even a bad designer. I don't know. I can't see from here. But that designer might not be working from the right information, and they might be desperately guessing as best as they can. So please, don't just blame the designer when we are not working from good information. Now, this is an exercise everybody can do. I got it from a woman named Helen Page, who I worked with last year, so I like to credit her. This is my slight variation of it. And if you ever watch my YouTube show, this is what I call the quadrant exercise. You can do this at any point in your project, and yes, it's better if the UX people do it, but if there isn't UX where you work, somebody please do this. And the idea is do it as early as you can in the project, though there's never a bad time for it. The earlier the better, even when you're first scoping it or planning it or budgeting for it. Get your cross-functional team in the room, even stakeholders, and say, okay, we think we're going to work on this aspect of whatever, or the client is asking about this. Fill out this thing. And if you're an agency or thing like that, I will do this with the client. What are our unanswered questions? It could be about people. It could be about technology. What are our unanswered questions? What are our guesses and assumptions? What do we think we know? What information might be outdated? When people say, yeah, we ran a study before the pandemic. Hey, it's a new world. What I wish I knew. Now, as a facilitator of this exercise, don't move the sticky notes around. They all basically say the same thing. So it doesn't matter where the sticky note is. It's just a matter of collecting all of people's unknowns. And that's when you get to say something clever like, look how much we don't know. Look how much we're not sure about. It wouldn't be smart to just rush into guesses and something we think is cool or we think is interesting. Now is the time for some good qualitative research so that we can really know. Let's send our researchers to find out. We don't have researchers, let's get an agency. Someone at this conference probably is an agency that does UX research. I do it, but not in French, so someone somewhere is going to do this. Hire them. Hire them as a freelancer, as a consultant, bring them in. Someone do this research. And that way we can know. And this also sets the researcher up to know what questions we can answer. Some of these will be out of scope. My client will usually put something up like, how much will people pay for our future system that we haven't even decided what it does yet? Yeah, we don't know. I don't know what someone will pay for future unknown things. So I'll just move that sticky note to a little out of scope box. But the rest of it, I will happily find out in our research adventures and make sure I answer all those questions. And then this one I'm just going to load up quickly. I did make the slides available, so you can certainly check them out later as a PDF. If you can't find them, email me. My email's on the bottom of every slide. I'm happy to chat with anybody here who needs help or has a question. But something you can do instead of evangelizing is write a process playbook the way the process should work. Don't write the playbook for how it's working now, because is it working now? Do we like our processes at our company? Do we want to change our processes? Are people awake? How's my English? Should I switch to Italian? Anybody here speak Italian? Okay, that's all I got for you. So we suck. And we probably need a fresh playbook looking at some ways that we can do better and to standardize what we're doing. And when do we need research? Always. When don't we need research? Never. Who's going to do it? Who's a collaborator? Who owns it? UX, this is your chance to say, here's the parts of the process that we own. We're going to do these things. We're going to make these decisions. Remember, product discovery, put the word product in front of it, but discovery is a UX process. It's part of user-centered design. I'm sorry, I have 1,000 slides, so I don't have time to go into all of this, and I do want to leave a few minutes for questions. So I'm blowing through some of these things, but especially, sometimes I do the long versions of these on my YouTube channel, so you can always go to YouTube and say, Delta CX, and maybe something like impact map, where I did an entire hour-long show on my version of an impact map, which is on your screen now. So I don't like the impact maps and opportunity solutions trees that you're seeing from some product authors and trainers. They are not customer-centric at all. They're what I like to call customer peripheric. The customer is way out in the peripheral vision, or possibly just a pawn for the company to push around, because at the top of those maps and trees are business goals. At the top of my tree is a customer need, something we know from research, whether that research is secondary, ooh, we're getting a lot of complaints, or it's primary, we observed people. And then I take a look at what are the root causes. Now, we might be guessing these, but then we should be doing the research to know the root causes of the customer's problem. We might have to dig a little bit. And then we can map what is the impact to the business. Now you're tying a customer problem or need to money or other things the business might be losing, because pretty much every problem our systems have come back to our company losing money, whether that's the wasted money of a crappy project that didn't go well, or it's the wasted money of customer support. A lot of us don't always think about customer support, but they cost our company money, and we pass our problems off to them. And if we put them into our budgets, we would probably see more disaster, and may I say carnage. So an impact map like this helps us really show that because of this customer problem and these root causes, we have this impact to the business. And then the bottom is just a conservative estimate of how you think you could start to fix that and make some changes if we solve the customer problem. So this could help you get buy-in, because we are tying a real customer problem to that business impact. So try something like that and watch my YouTube show on it. So just a few more slides, and then I'll take questions. In wrapping up, remember, the business's language is money. That's it. They just want to know, what did we make? What did we save? Did people sign on? Did people leave? It's just simple economics. And things like, come sit in a workshop and learn the value of design, is something that costs money but doesn't make money. You have to tie everything you do to this stuff and the costs of poor quality that we saw before. By the way, there's also a costs of good quality from Lean Six Sigma, which I didn't have a slide on. Look that up as well. So ultimately, the business makes money from very concrete things, and we need to show how being more customer-centric and user-centric is going to give the business the money and success and growth that it wants. That's the ROI. So I suggest that people shift their language. Don't talk about hashtag empathy. Empathy is the hottest buzzword right now, but not only is it totally fake, but it does not necessarily make the company money. Be careful talking about delight. The customers will be delighted when we don't suck so much, when we actually understand and solve their problems. And so the delight is the kind of the side effect. It shouldn't be the goal. We'll get there if we get there. I will kick this all day. So remember, and I wrote this slide yesterday, so I hope you like it. Since the business cares about money, go do the math. Pick up the rug and talk about the project nobody wants to talk about. Anybody work somewhere now or previously where we had a super disaster project? Super disaster project? Small disaster project? Sure, we've all been there. When we don't want to raise our hands because we're sitting next to the guy we work with, or maybe it's our boss, and he's going, "Why did you raise your hand? Now Debbie knows we suck." So, we have those projects, and we need to talk about them. They need to come out, and we need to talk about them. We need to do the math. We need to do the math on what this cost our company so that we can say, hey, remember when Project X really sucked and we had to roll it back, or we lost those customers, or we're experiencing longer hold times. So what's the French version of you call up customer support and they say, we're experiencing longer hold times. Your call is important to us. We'll be with you in 20 minutes. So ask project managers and people who know budgets, what workshops and other things are costing us. Engineering change requests, rework, and in really bad cases, rolling back to an old version. This cost us money and time. Customer support utilizations. Oh yeah, I forgot. Misleading info, guesses, assumptions. We have a cool idea, which turns out to be a crappy idea. And of course, customer support. They cost our companies so much money. And these are things that need to be put back in the budget and say, you think the project cost this, but this is the full arc of that feature or service. Ooh, it looked like this. So these are risks and waste that should be avoided. When I talk about CX and UX at companies, I don't talk a lot about design. I talk about risk mitigation and customer intelligence. And finally, we're allowed to say no. I think a lot of UX people are, in general, nice people, and they care about people, and they want to say yes, but we don't have to say yes. We can say no. We can say no, but we can say no, and we might say yes, but next time, check my process playbook, we're going to do it this other way. So don't feel like you have to say yes to everything. We're not going to create change if we say yes to the wrong things. We're going to have a little bit of an internal New Yorker. I'll give you some of my vibes there. And we're going to have to say, no, this isn't the right amount of time for the project. No, my designers can't work from guesses and your crappy survey that says 78% of people like an idea they didn't see. So say yes or no, how you need to, and then say, I'm going to document this as a risk, and then do it. Document your risks. We're not documenting risks. Who's documenting risks? 11.5 people. So not enough. I think more people should be documenting risks to projects, not for, haha, I told you so, but more like, this could have been avoided, we saw this coming, we must do better next time, and Agile wants us to do better next time. So in closing, thank you for coming. You're welcome to contact me if you have questions or if you think there's anything I can do in English or my husband can do in French for you. I do have a signed book, and I'm hoping to give it to somebody who will read a book in English and is interested in customer centricity and preferably has a little bit of power in their company to possibly drive some change. Does that match anybody here? You don't have to fit that. You don't have to. I was hoping Green Jacket Lady might. Can you bring it to somebody else? You read it and then you tell somebody else what to do. Good. Okay. Sorry. So just quick, I've got 5 minutes. I'm going to take questions. They're also setting me up a table in the bistro, which I know I haven't pronounced correctly. And I have 7 more books there that I am selling. They are 18 American dollars. I think that's 20-something Canadian. I'm also signing them. I've just got 7, so if anybody wants to take one home, please do. But they're, as per QR code, they're also on Amazon. They're on Audible if you want to listen to me for 16 hours. And they're also on my website as a PDF for as little as $1 if you just want to grab a PDF version. So with 5 minutes left, I'd like to take any questions that you have.